time to Be Real with Sage Steele.
If there were ever a voice of God, I think we just found him. Be Real with Sage Steele. This is it. This is the first one, and I can't believe it. So welcome. Here's the thing. I've always wanted to host my own talk show, but I thought it was just a pipe dream. And apparently, thanks to technology, it is not. The thing is, I obviously TV geek for 25 years in this crazy business, but my whole life watching TV, specifically though, watching interviews to try to get to know people. The thing that annoys me about interviews though is that it sounds like an interview: question, answer, out. And I feel like it feels too choppy. So to me, the key word is conversation. And with that, you need somebody on the other side, right? To have that conversation and to really talk and kind of forget that there's a camera or a microphone there. But that isn't just with anybody, that is with real people, genuine, interesting, inspirational people. And that is my goal on Be Real with Sage Steele. This is show number 1. And just bear with me because I have no idea what it's really going to look like. And that's kind of the beauty of it. It's just wing it, just like on live TV. Here's the thing. Nobody is more real and genuine, in my opinion, to begin a show with than the man I'm about to introduce you. Not introduce you to, but just because y'all know who he is, but just to bring on as guest number 1. Whenever you want to know something about somebody, what do? You Google them. And then what do? You go to the Wikipedia page, because everything on Wikipedia is 100% accurate, right? Yeah. The occupation category on his Wikipedia page says television host. And that's true because just quick resume: HGTV, the Game Show Network, TVG. Does anybody know what TVG is? I didn't. Thank you, Google. It's a horse racing channel. I don't even know if it still exists. We'll have to ask him. But that was the beginning. And also sports anchor in Oklahoma City. So the sports background, we share that love for sure. But then this TV host thing, I think it got really real in 2002, I believe is the year, with The Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor Pad, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelor Winter Games, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you name it. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of things. So at this point, I kind of gave it away. Say hello to, wait. Here's the thing. All the host stuff is great and awesome. But to me, more importantly, entrepreneur, frat boy, athlete, father to 2 beautiful teenagers, Joshua and Taylor, and a friend, an awesome human being. My friend, say hello to Chris Harrison. Hi, Chris.
Sage, how are you doing? Wow. How about the intro there?
I know. Are you proud of me? I know I missed a few things, right?
You missed you missed 2 very huge hosting gigs.
What?
1, Miss America.
Okay, yes.
Where you and I shared the stage for the first time. And 2, the Nick Walinda Daredevil tightrope walk that we also just hosted right before the Rona hit. But more importantly, I just wanted to raise a glass and say congratulations and best of luck to you, because if you and I are together, we are drinking wine. So congratulations on this new endeavor. And like everything else you touch, it's going to be gold.
Thank you. Seriously. And you know that. I'm not going to cry yet because it's too early, but coming from you, that means something. Did you know that my cup, my wine glass, which is like plastic, said gold don't quit? So the gold thing, I mean, see, this is why Wikipedia lists you as television host, because you can hit things like that. By the way, this is my Pacers mug that they sent me. Go Pacers. You never talk about basketball. Are you even a basketball fan?
Not a huge basketball fan. I follow my Mavericks. And that's the thing, is I grew up in Dallas, and you have to understand, pre-Mark Cuban is when I grew up. It was Don Carter, who owned some car lots and owned bowling alleys around Dallas, was our owner. And other than basically 1987 and the Mark McGuire, Rolando Blackman days, we sucked. I mean,
you did.
We sucked so bad. Like the Knicks are really good compared to how the Mavericks were. That's how bad we were. People used to stand outside of my high school. I went to Lake Highlands High School in Dallas, and they would give away tickets to high school kids. So we would just go fill seats at night. You could go to any game you wanted. There was one year we were actually good, and it was, I believe it was 87 with Mark McGuire and Blackman.
Yeah.
And we took on, of course, the Lakers. And that lasted 30 seconds, and that was our
Right.
dream. That was it for my childhood. That was like that. So I wasn't a huge basketball fan because, I was watching the Lakers, and I hate the Lakers. I
Yep.
was watching Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics, and honestly, I don't understand the Northeast. I've never been there. I don't care. So
Yeah, you're not missing a thing.
right. So I was watching two teams I really hated. So I didn't care growing up. It was always the Celtics and Lakers. And I didn't have a dog in the fight. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. We're winning everything. So everything was always about my Cowboys and then the Texas Rangers. But again, the Rangers sucked my entire life too.
So, but that's the thing is when your team suck and you're a kid, you automatically go with who's winning, and the Cowboys for sure. And initially, I remember, like, I believe it was, well, was it the first time we did Miss America, which maybe was 2016?
Yeah, about that.
And yeah, ish. And I remember in the green room beforehand, and we had separate green rooms. So I'm not used to the green room thing, or your dressing room, the separate thing. You are, I'm not. But I remember I was all nervous and kind of pacing, and I walked around the corner, and it was Sunday Night Football, right?
Yep.
And your Cowboys were playing somebody, and you were like, I mean, we're getting ready to host Miss America in front of, I don't know, I'm gonna just say a billion people. I'm sure that's how many watched it. And you had your tea, and you're watching your Cowboys, and you were completely zoned in, and I'm this panicked mess. I feel like that almost brings you like peace to watch your childhood team.
Well, before any game, before any show that I do, Miss America, when it's live and it's all on the line, it's like any other sporting event. And I played sports my whole life, so did you. You work out, you prepare, you do everything you can, and then right before the game, just get your head right. That's all you can do. You can't prepare as you're walking on the stage. And so watching a football game, listening to music, I always have tea, as you said, and I try to chill. I have a very quiet dressing room before
You
a
do.
show. I'm not one of those. I was never one of those athletes that wanted to bang my head against a wall, listen to Metallica, and go crazy. I like to just kind of get in my space, be very chill, and then go out and perform.
And you know that I'm the exact opposite. And I'm like
I know.
running around dancing and telling stupid jokes that fall flat every single time. I feel like the joking around. Okay, for instance, before I do Sports Center every day, I'm always chomping on gum, which is probably a nervous habit, but I do it all the time, even especially when I'm working out. But right before the show, I'll try to spit my gum into the trash can, like hurl it. And it can be from really far away. I try to be a little more careful these days with this
Yeah.
coronavirus thing. People get a little nervous about the germs. But for me, and then I usually miss, which makes people laugh, which brings everybody's, stress level down a little bit. So we are the exact opposite. But then when we go on stage, and I will say that though, the first time we did Miss America, got on stage and I was a nervous wreck again. And you just looked at me and you had that calm vibe, and it actually calmed me down.
It's one of the great hosting gigs, and obviously it's gone now, and it's a complete dumpster fire.
Thank you for saying that. God.
It's an absolute dumpster fire, and what Gretchen Carlson did was really unfortunate because she didn't do it for anybody's. She didn't do it for the organization. She didn't do it for the women. It was a really unfortunate situation, and now the rest of the Miss Americas agree, and so it was bad. She destroyed something that had been around for 100 years, and she did it in a matter of months. So I'm pretty impressive that she could destroy something that big that quickly. But you walk on stage and people don't realize what an amazing gig that is because of the live audience there. Whether we did it in Vegas or we did it in Atlantic City, there's thousands of people in the audience and then millions watching around the world. So it's a great event to walk on that stage, the buzz and the energy in that room, and to go live without a net. You're just doing it. And at the end of 2 hours, you're going to have a Miss America crowned is awesome. Your hair is on fire. And It's the closest you get to doing sports.
So I think we have some pictures from there that we can scroll into this, because it was definitely something that when they asked me, Chris, I think I told you, I thought, what? You want me to do what? Why would I ever want to do something like that? I'm all about the Super Bowl and the Masters and everything else, but it is truly a competition. And what you told me, that I will never forget, and I tell people all the time who say, really, what was that like? It was literally one of the best events I've ever been a part of. And what inspired me so much was the women, because in our industry, women aren't that helpful to each other. There's that Savvy Shields, and they're not that helpful to each other. But those women, all of them on that stage, I'm sure there were some cat fights in the back here or there, but overall, they were so supportive of each other. and what they had to do to get to that point, all the local and the regional competitions to get there, and the academics and the physical fitness and giving back to people. It truly was one of the greatest things. And I owe you a lot, actually, but I owe you for that one too, because I mean, you gave me the nod to be the co-host, because I know you'd had like a million different co-hosts.
Well, we were talking about who could fill in and be the new co-host with me, and you immediately came to mind because I knew we had great chemistry, and I knew you were going to be apprehensive at best.
Yeah.
So I called you on my own just to like let you know that it was much bigger and better than what it seems on TV. And you're right, and that's why it was so unfortunate what Gretchen Carlson did and how it got torpedoed, because the women I've met, the empowerment, the sisterhood, the incredible things that these women have gone on to accomplish. And it's just unfortunate that that is what's happened to this event.
The cool thing, though, is that because of that, I think some of the people at ABC saw, hey, Chris was right. They really do have some chemistry. And so you're right. It was right before the Rona hit and changed the world. But to go back, we met each other initially at the Scripps National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C.
Our first show we ever hosted was the Spelling Bee. That's right, in Washington. I didn't know what year that was, but that was wild to host.
That was nuts. And all those kids who make you feel like idiot, right?
Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Yeah, so we've done the Spelling Bee together. We've done some really odd events. Who else can say they have co-hosted the Scripps National Spelling Bee, Miss America multiple times, and then Nick Melinda walking across a volcano?
How many times when even beforehand, before the volcano show actually went live on ABC, did we go, what the hell are we doing here in Nicaragua with a guy risking his life over lava?
And we're wearing the masks as the gas came blowing in. And you also, there was one other thing that we co-hosted together that is it was one of my dreams, and you helped check this off my bucket list. As you mentioned, I was a sportscaster for a long time, and I had a really good friend of mine who was in Tulsa at the time, and he went off, John Anderson went off, and he went to Sports Center, and I took the route of going to Hollywood. And I always thought, what if I had gone to do Sports Center? And you brought me in, and we co-hosted Sports Center for a day. And it really was a dream come true. We had a blast, and it was awesome.
That was honestly so cool. And to see your face right in the commercial break before we came on live. The problem is I was like I knew you'd be good because you're good at everything you touch, but I was like, okay, that's enough. You can leave. I have a mortgage to pay. I don't need you taking my job. Go back to The Bachelor, please. that was really cool. And it was a good reminder to me, because that was always my dream, Sports Center. But sometimes, you get wrapped up in the job and work, and you lose perspective, and you helped me bring it back that day in particular. It was really cool. But I think you kind of made me nervous. I'm like, I can't screw this up, because Harrison will take my we should switch. Well, how about you have people switch jobs for a day? I don't know how I would do though in like Pat.
Well, you'd be great. First of all, you could be a contestant and you could be the host.
Well, but the thing is I'm single now. So if I'm around all those guys, like, I don't know if I'd be.
That's what I mean. I'm like, you could be a contestant and be the host. It's something I can't do. So you would be amazing at that. How about you as the Bachelorette? How would that go down?
I would be twice the age of the oldest Bachelorette in history. So that would be bad. I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing though. I mean, younger guys, they need mature women who are confident in themselves and can show them a thing or two. I think
you would eat them alive. They would be like Skittles in your hand.
I better stop. Oh my God. Okay, let me have another sip before we continue.
That's the wine talking. Here we go. What are you drinking, by the way?
I actually brought the bottle down in case I needed a lot. Ready? I picked out a very nice bottle knowing it was you, and I had to impress you. It's a nice cab from Deloach Vineyard.
Ooh, okay, got it. Yeah. I'm drinking a Hall Cabernet tonight, the Bishop. Very good. Lauren Zima, the lovely Lauren Zima is here.
Let me see her.
She has the bottle over there, so if I need it, I have a call.
Do we get to see the lovely Lauren Zima, your better half? Is she going to make a cameo?
We'll see if she makes a cameo.
Okay, have another glass. Okay, fine. Okay, here's the thing. Since this is the first show, again, one big experiment, right? I actually, my guy, John Brinkus, helped me produce a bunch of segment bumpers. And so we're going to go segment to segment and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, then we won't do it the next time, but you're the guinea pig. Ready?
Perfect. I like it.
The first one, before I tell them to roll it, it came to me, you know what? I'll explain it after it goes. Ready? First one, behind the scenes, BTS, go. Okay, that's kind of amazing. Thank you. I thought of BTS, Harrison, because while we're all quarantined, you were seeing, like, where are you right now?
I'm actually, so this is weird. I know this is airing a little bit later than this, but I'm in the middle of shooting The Bachelorette.
Yes.
But I am home because, as you know, I broke out of the bubble. I broke quarantine so I could take my son to college. So I just dropped him off at TCU in Fort Worth yesterday. And now I have to go through the protocol again of being here at home, quarantining, going back to the bubble at La Quinta and testing my way back into the show. So right now I am home in my office in quarantine.
So real quick, congratulations to Joshua, because I saw your pictures on Instagram and your Instagram stories, and I'm like, oh my gosh, in a year when my Quinn goes away to college, I assume that's what's gonna happen. She better, I'm gonna, I will die. And
It,
you said
it
that you were nervous about it, but that you got there and it was great, and you were just so happy, so
Yeah.
proud.
As I've gotten older, I've gotten much sappier and more emotional about things because I just realized that, when you're on the back nine of life, you really relish those moments. And um, I thought it was going to hit me, and he was so happy, and I was so proud of him that we went through the day and got them all moved in. And you're task oriented, you're just getting everything settled. And at the end of the day yesterday, I said, I got to go. I got to catch a flight. I had to get home and start my quarantine last night. So I gave him a hug. And, you've hugged your kids a million times. But this one was different. And he hugged me just a little
Mhm.
bit tighter. He squeezed me a little harder, and it lasted a little longer.
Oh,
And he pulled back and he just kind of looked me in the eye, and there was just kind of that knowing look that you have with a father and a son. And it just, even now I'm like, I lost it. I was like, okay. I'm like, so that was the only time where I welled up with tears in my eyes, and it really crushed me just because I was so proud and I'm so happy for him. He's achieved so much. He's a brilliant young man. He has so much going for him. So I'm like, you're going to go take on the world. And it's that double-edged sword. You want to raise these kids to be strong, independent, amazing men and women. But when they are, that means they're going to leave you. And that's a good thing, but it
yeah.
hurts.
I literally, when you texted me back and told me how you felt, I got choked up then. And now to hear you say it, I honestly can't imagine. It just goes so damn fast. I always say that to young mothers. And I remember when I was a young mother, because I'm not young anymore. And when your kids are, mine are now 18, 16, 14, I don't want to hear it. Like, you cherish it. It goes so quickly. You're like, yeah, whatever. I'm in hell right now. And they were right. And now it's just going so quickly. So good on you for having that attitude. And I'm gonna need a shrink.
Yeah.
I'll pay you in a year when that happens,
I'll
and
be there.
more wine. Okay, we'll do it together. And then you have Taylor coming in a couple of years too. So we're really in that same time
Yep.
frame. It's the same season, and it is really such a blessing. But that's the thing. So you're at home behind the scenes, and so during coronavirus, when we're all quarantined, I love how people just had to adjust. SportsCenter never used to bring people like, big time athletes on live on FaceTime, or and you're looking into your computer, and half these guys don't know how to do it, and the camera's shooting up and looking at their nose hairs.
Right.
Like, it's not attractive, but we're just thankful because people couldn't go into studios to have it. So that's where the concept of BTS came from. And I mean, so is there a, doesn't have to be a room, I guess it could be a room, um a thing, something in your home or wherever you are that makes you feel comfortable, feel good, feel proud of. What, take us behind the scenes in whichever way you want.
Well, first of all, this room, this is my office now. And if you've been watching The Bachelor, the greatest of all time this summer, that Joshua is actually my crew. This is where
We
I
got a lot
shot
of
it.
love for that little hottie.
It was great. I will even let's see if we can pan over. So that's the desk I was sitting at, and obviously the Texas flag painting that has gotten a lot of love as well. So yeah, this is my office. I call it my me room because it's just, this is where I have stuff, a lot of golf paraphernalia. I don't have a lot of like autographs, but the ones I do, I have in here. Stuff from my dad, pictures of my grandfather, my dad, my brother. All this stuff is all kind of in this room, and so this is the room that I come in, I sit, and I look around. I'm like, this is it. There's hunting and fishing pictures. There's Emmy nomination stuff framed, and just pictures of me and my grandmother when I threw out the first pitch at the Ranger game when I turned 40, and my Nolan Ryan baseball. So just
Wow.
all kinds of
Wait,
crazy.
can we see a little bit of that? Can, is
Let
that,
me grab one
let me
thing.
see. I know, because I'm dying. Like, when he kind of name dropped there, didn't he? Nolan Ryan.
I don't, it's funny. So I don't have a lot of autographs, but there are two autographs, well, three, that I have in this room. One is I was in Oklahoma City, as you mentioned, a young sportscaster, and Nolan Ryan. So when I was growing up, the Texas Rangers were terrible, but they had players. There was Steve Bouchel, and some of these guys would come through, and Juan Gonzalez and all that. So we had some years. But when I was in high school, Nolan Ryan was pitching, and he left the Astros and was pitching for the Rangers. And so my friends and I, we had his schedule, and we would skip school. And at the old Arlington Stadium, we didn't have a bullpen. You would pitch kind of like Wrigley Field. You would pitch right outside the dugout. And when he was on, it was unlike anything you've ever seen before. And
amazing.
The way he played the game, how long he's my favorite baseball player of all time. And so I actually did an interview with him. I said, I hate to do this, but I'm going to ask you to sign. And he was the nicest guy. He's as good as you would expect. Unless you're Robin Ventura, he's the nicest guy in the world.
Understandably so. But that's the thing is, one of my idol as a kid was John Elway, growing up in Colorado in the 1980s. And it was, they're going to all the Super Bowls and beating the Browns, losing in the Super Bowl. But the problem is when I met John Elway twice, he was awful. And it broke my heart because I'm like, one of those things you always hear, just don't meet your childhood hero, because quite often you get let down. So you got lucky with Nolan. I'm so thankful to hear that about him.
And, between Nolan and I just love the way he played. And he was, the guy would have thrown at his own mom if she had crowded the plate.
Hell yeah.
I just love the way he played the game and his perseverance and his attitude. And, but in 1993, I was a sportscaster in Oklahoma City, and I was at the Southern Hills PGA Championship. The 94 PGA Championship was at Southern Hills. The year Nick Price won, but it was Arnold Palmer's last PGA Championship. And I was right out of college, my first PGA event, and it was a major. And they said it was Arnold Palmer's last. And so I went to do an interview with Arnold Palmer, not really knowing there was a press room and you would just go sit and listen to him talk. And so he was leaving the 11th hole, about to tee off on the 12th. And I stopped him. I said, Mr. Palmer, I would love to talk to you if I could. I would love a one-on-one interview. And the fact that he stopped and even talked to me is hilarious. He should have just laughed and moved on. But Arnie, he stopped and he said, son, after I tee off, if you have your cameraman, just come out and walk with me. So he teed off on the signature 12th hole at Southern Hills in his last PGA Championship. And I walked with him down the entire fairway. He gave me this amazing interview, and I got to his ball, and he finally looked at me with that awkward moment of, you need to leave now. I was that person that stayed too long at the party. Yeah. And he's like, I need to keep going. I said, Mr. Palmer, I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you so much. And he goes, son, come here. And he grabbed my press pass and he signed it. I didn't even ask. He just signed it.
Oh my gosh.
He had such awareness and such understanding of who he was and the impact he had on everybody. And there's so many golfers, so many other people have taken their lessons from him about how to be. And I very much am that person of trying to take time and understanding that I might have been the 10,000th person that day, but it was my first time. And that's what you have to realize, that when people come up to you, you might have had a long day, but it's their moment. It's not just you. And so I try to remember that and be as graceful as you can. And we all get short. We all get frustrated and tired, but Arnie was just that man, and he was an incredible. And later in life, when I already had The Bachelor and I was at a celebrity event, I stopped him and I said, Arnie, I just, I wanted to say thank you. And there's a moment that always stood by me and with me through all these years, and that was it. And he was such an amazing, amazing guy. But I'll show you one thing. This is the woman in my life. This was Hermine Salinger, my grandmother. Oh. So she died when she was 99 years old.
Oh my goodness.
An absolute just gem of a human being, the greatest. I grew up with a lot of strong women. It's probably why you and I get along so well, and why I love Lorenzina so much. I love surrounding myself with really strong women. And my grandmother, my aunts, my mom were unbelievably strong women. And so my grandmother was definitely the matriarch of the family. And one of my dreams was to throw out the first pitch at a Ranger game. And my grandmother was there to see it. And this was like a year or two before she passed away. And so that's one of the highlights and one of the best pictures I own right there.
What was her name?
Hermine Salinger. I call her Mimi.
Yes. She's beautiful. Number one. Number two, 99. So that means we're going to have you around for a really long time.
She was so close to 100. She was like a couple of months away from 100. That's what we were trying to get to. And God bless her. You know, the good Lord took her in her sleep. It was a peaceful thing, as it should have been. And like, she lived a great life, no regrets, just an awesome woman.
I'm sure she did. Like, did she? I'm sure she watched. Did
She
did
did.
she
Oh,
tell
she
you
did.
how proud was she of you for not just what you did, but how you do things?
My grandfather was an amazing lawyer in Dallas, and he was a clothes hound. He loved to get dressed up. That's where I love, I get my love of suits and ties, and take a lot of pride in dressing up. And he was just this amazing dresser. He passed away probably 10, 14 years before she did. And she would call me after every show, Miss America, whatever it is, and talk about what I was wearing.
I love it.
Good or bad, by the way. She was totally
Yeah.
fine with, I didn't love that tie you were wearing. That brown suit, I don't know. So she was really harsh on critiquing what I was dressed like.
So that's why you can handle all those ladies, though. She's the reason why, right?
She is, and yeah, she did get to see it all, and she got to meet my kids and really get to know my kids. She was such a blessed woman. As she said, she was the richest woman in the world with 5 kids, 7 grandchildren, of which I'm the youngest. She had 13 great grandchildren before she passed away. Knew them all to the day she died. She knew them all. I don't even know all their names. She knew them all. Would break into a story personally with each one of them. Just unbelievable woman.
And is this your mom's mom or your dad's mom?
My mom's mom, yeah.
So I think that the beautiful thing, and I wasn't able to have great relationships with my grandparents. I'm a and you know my parents, but I'm an Army brat, and we lived in different countries, frankly, during those formative years, and some health issues. I never got to know them, and I feel like that's one huge thing that I missed out on in my life, is that relationship with the grandparent. And obviously, you got to experience that, number one, and number two, because you had such a good grandmother, and hopefully other grandparents as well. You know how you're going to handle things when it's your turn to do that with your grandkids.
Can't wait to spoil them.
Not yet.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait a long time. I better wait a long time, Joshua and Taylor. But yeah, I just, there was I was very fortunate in how I grew up, not money wise, but love wise. There was a lot of love in my family. We grew up telling each other we loved each other and taking care of. And we had a big family dinner for Joshua the other night with all the family there. And there's a lot of people that are behind you. And for a kid in Dallas that grew up the way I did, with no background in this business, to move out to California and do what I've done, it shouldn't have happened. There's no one in my life that's ever been in this business. So I really had to figure it out. But when you have a family behind you, you truly felt that you couldn't fail in our family. Yes, you wanted to keep track and keep respect for the name on the back of your jersey because you felt like you had to honor that. But I never felt like I could fail. And to this day, I feel like I could try anything and do anything because you can't fail. And it's something I try to impart to my kids, to anyone I speak to have that feeling that you can do this. You can go out and just take it on. Doesn't mean you're not going to come up short. Doesn't mean you're not going to strike out. Doesn't mean you're not going to fall on your face. You will. And I have probably failed more than I've succeeded in life. But I've always had that feeling of, why not me?
Okay. Of course, we could go a million different directions with this, but you alluded to it, into your career and how you have no business doing what you're doing, maybe, right? I mean, I don't know what your aspirations were. Maybe you can share that with us. But there's something that drove you and continues to drive you every single day to keep doing it, and also at the highest possible level. What drove you initially to get into this crazy business?
Well, it was a bit of lucky, fortunate breaks and people around you. And I'm also a firm believer, if you pay attention, keep your eyes open. We all kind of have the same amount of green lights and breaks in our life, but some people take advantage of those, and some people walk by a $100 bill sitting on the sidewalk and don't even notice it's there. So I was a soccer player in college at Oklahoma City University.
Wait, a scholarship soccer player? They paid you to come play soccer there? I'm just saying.
They NAIA school, and I wanted to play soccer. I loved it, and it was a great opportunity and a great little small school. I was not a great student when I was in high school, So the opportunity to play soccer and get educated was fantastic. My brother was the first person in my family to go to college. He went to A&M down in Texas. And I went to OCU. It was a very small little school. And I was a sportscaster in Oklahoma City from like 93, 92 till 99. And then I moved out and quickly got a game show, home and garden show, and that was Designer's Challenge. And that
Yeah,
quickly
I love.
it became one of the biggest shows on HGTV. We were crushing it. It was a really great hit for me. And it was a great way to learn because, again, I was so green. I was so unaware of what was going on. And maybe the fact that I wasn't desperate and didn't care really helped get gigs. And I was a fresh face and kind of new blood in the area and came out here and found some pretty quick success.
Were you, but you still had the sportscaster's dream, right? I mean, was that still in the back of your mind? At what point did you let go of that and realize I'm really going to crush it on this side?
Well, I also kind of have that Joan Rivers, Jay Leno mentality of I feel like it could all go away tomorrow. And that is when you go back to what you were talking about, your drive and what keeps you going. I think having that feeling that, I didn't grow up with any of this. So I feel like, you know what? It could all be gone tomorrow. And if it is, so be it. I'll bust my ass and go do something else. But I just feel like it could always be taken away or it could always go away. And so I did the home and garden show. I was doing TVG and I was doing The Bachelor for the first 2 seasons. So
Mhm.
I didn't stop doing HGTV or the TVG racing show until season 2 or 3 of The Bachelor.
So you were doing, I mean, when did you have a life, or did you not have a life at that point? Because you're just trying to go and trying to make a name.
Well, and on top of that, I was married with a newborn at the time. So, Joshua was 6 weeks old back in 2001 when I got the job on The Bachelor. So I had 3 gigs, had a newborn baby. 9/11 had just happened. It was
Oh,
2001.
yeah.
And so the world was a little crazy at the time, but, kind of like it is now. Look, I'm not saying it's not real. 9/11 was very real. The coronavirus is very real, but I also think it's how you look at things. And we've all been kicked in the gut before. This isn't unique. You're not different than anybody else. We've all been punched in the face.
Yeah.
And I think it's how you deal with these situations and how you recover. And there's with these crazy moments, there's great opportunities for everybody. Like you said, no one's ever done a show like this before Corona.
Right.
And before Corona, maybe people would have laughed and said, this is crazy, but now it's a thing. So there are opportunities out there. And I'm a firm believer that there are people, especially I think politically and how we have found ourselves in this spectrum right now. There are people that will tell you what's wrong, how everything's wrong, how you're doing everything wrong, but they don't ever tell you what steps to take or what steps they're taking to make it better. Because then I also feel there's people that realize there's things wrong in the world. And it doesn't diminish the fact that there's really horrible things going on, but we got to go somewhere. You got to step forward. You got to wake up in the morning and go grind and take care of yourself, create opportunity, get back to work, keep this country and keep this world going. You can't just stick your head in the sand and go, woe is me. We've never been able to do that as a nation or as a person. And so that's my mentality. And it's always been my mentality. And yeah, Corona sucks. Yeah, 9/11 sucked. I was in Oklahoma City when the bombing happened in 1995.
Oh, wow.
Something that really shaped my young life. And it made me more grateful. It gives me great perspective on life, but it doesn't stop me. It can't stop you.
So I always say this to my kids, and they get so annoyed that happiness is a choice. And as we get ready to go to our next segment, Herbert, stand by for pass fail. That is, it is easier said than done at times, because there are some things that are real and that are painful, and you need to feel that pain. You need to feel the struggle and not ignore it. But then what? Because
Yeah.
everybody's got something. I think that was one of the title of
And you
Robin
bring up a good point about when you say something like happiness is a choice, people can easily say, oh yeah, sure. It's great for you. You have millions of dollars and and you're right. Yeah. I'm privileged. You're privileged. I haven't always been, I
Nobody
busted
gave
my,
it to you. You
I,
had
bu-
to, you had to go earn it.
but I've always just had the mentality of it's not that things don't suck. I get it. People have died in my life. I've been through a crazy divorce. I've been through the bombing. We've been through 9/11. We've been through all these things. It's not saying that bad things don't happen to you. Bad things do. They happen to everybody. And it's not just, hey, put a smile on your face and move on. Like you said, grieve, feel it, deal with those emotions, but you have to get back up and move forward, period. You can't just spend your life telling everybody what's wrong. You can't just scream about, always being the victim. I get it. You can be a victim, but you can also be proactive and take steps. How are you going to make it better? Don't just tell me what's wrong in the world.
You know who told me that happiness was a choice?
Who?
Stuart Scott.
Yeah, I was going to take a guess that it was Stuart Scott, who I know you love and adore. I got to know him very well. I would not be so bold as to say he was a good friend of mine, but he was that guy that if I saw him, we would exchange and give each other a big hug, and we would text each other from time to time. And obviously, when he was going through cancer, there was not a braver face. Jim Valvano, Stuart, who got up and spoke so bravely at the Jimmy V and getting the Jimmy V award. People like that, just that gives you great perspective. Like that gives you unbelievable perspective on life. He was an amazing man.
That's the thing. And so when he was going through it, and when he never once asked for a prognosis, he didn't want doctors to say you've got 6 months to live or a year to live or whatever, because he's like, listen, I'm going to go at it the way I'm going to go at it. But it was a choice at that point, knowing that his life was going to come to an end much sooner than he wanted, than anybody wanted, than it should have. And so he's like, this is a choice, and how I approach it every day. And it taught me so much. And my kids knew him and loved him. And so that it's not coming from me. They know it's coming from Mr. Stewart. So therefore, I think that they do take it to heart a little bit more. But again, it is a choice. And
there's these moments in life, and there's people in life. My mentor, Bill Tegans, who was a great sportscaster in Oklahoma City, he gave me my first 3 jobs in the business, and I interned for him. Incredible man, sportscaster of the year many times over in Oklahoma City. And I worked with him at KWTV, the CBS affiliate. And he died in the plane crash with the Oklahoma State basketball team. They were flying back from playing Colorado, and the plane went down. A couple of the kids died, and Bill was on that plane. And so, it could be a Stuart Scott situation. It could be a Bill Tegans and the Oklahoma State basketball team situation where it's like that. But those moments always gave me such great perspective, and it crushed me to my soul, and I cried like a baby. And I hosted a show like a couple nights after Stuart Scott died, and I was on stage all night just thinking of Stu, and what would he have told me, and it was like, what, I'm going to put a smile on my face, because he would have given anything to be on that stage hosting a show. And he would have been so pissed if I had been sad or crying. And he was like having that perspective. But you said it's a choice. And I fully believe you're right. It is a choice.
I have thought of him like you countless times. It got me through some really tough moments. And it's WWSD. What would Stuart do? And it's gotten me through so much. And I'll just end this segment by saying that it's something that I have to remind myself of and remind my kids of all the time, is when people react and it's a little bit ugly, especially now, people are stressed, and there are many reasons for people to be upset. Is a choice. Everybody is dealing with something, no matter what we think, no matter what it looks like on Instagram or on social media. Everybody's got something. And so to have that extra little bit of empathy, I think can go a really long way. If everybody does a little bit of it, then this country, this world would be a much.
Could you imagine if we all just had a little grace, a little patience, a little.
That's the word, grace.
Yeah. And it's like just listen and not be so quick to shut somebody down just because you don't understand or you don't agree with what they're saying.
Yeah.
You and I have had some amazing long talks and back and forth. And it's like, it's having the grace to listen and take it in and then process it, and giving people time to process, by the way. Give people a moment to, in this day and age of social media, it's like, I need to know what you think and you need to tell me right now. It's like, well, take a moment, breathe, and then have a little perspective. And being a little older gives you that experience and perspective. And you and I have had a lot of great conversations about that.
See, there are many benefits to being old. Old, but I'm really immature. So I think that balances it out. Okay, right. Herbert, ready? Next segment, pass, fail, go. All right, Harrison, I want to know, for passing, I guess, I made it academic, I don't know why, your proudest moment versus your biggest fail.
It's so funny. Proudest moments, probably a layup for both of us, just because it would have to do with my kids. It wouldn't have anything to do with the business. When people ask me questions about The Bachelor and like what season, I'm like, well, that was the year my kids were with me in Italy, or that's when we were living in Paris and we were eating, they called them chocolate tacos, crepes under the Eiffel Tower. But my kids were so young at the time, they just knew they were chocolate tacos. So, and my proudest moment would be like yesterday and sending my son off to college and having a beautiful, young, strong woman as a daughter. That's the best thing I've ever done. Those will be the best things I ever do in my life. There will never be anything financial, business wise that will ever compare to raising two great human beings. And I know you take a lot of pride in being a parent too. My biggest fail, I just think there were times when I was telling stories because we were with family yesterday when I made a remark, and I won't even say what it was, but my grandmother, my Mimi, the one I introduced you to earlier, she called me and said she was disappointed in me. And I lived in my family. I grew up in Texas in the 70s and 80s. So yeah, I got a beating every now and then by my dad, which is totally fine. But my grandparents, my grandmother, Mimi, and my grandfather, Papa, if they said they were disappointed in you, that was ball game. That was it. And that was probably the biggest fail in my life was disappointing both of them at different events where they actually had to say, "I'm just disappointed in you."
Can you? Okay, that pains me.
It was
Can you give us
it
an
was a
example
it was
of
well,
why?
it's only happened one time with my grandmother. I had made a remark, and it was a disparaging mark about somebody, and he didn't really deserve it, this person I was speaking of. And she just stopped me, and she just said, "Chris, I don't love that." And I don't love how you just spoke of that person. You don't know, like you said, you don't know what that person's going through. You don't know them. And you just jump to this conclusion and this snap judgment. And it crushed me. I felt just this big. And to this day, I still live to try and please them and try and make them proud, even though they're both long gone. But that day, I'll never forget. That was like one of my biggest fails. I tell my kids, "You never lived until Mimi said, I'm disappointed in you."
And wait, you were how old again?
Oh, I was probably a teenager. I was probably
Yeah,
12, 13, 14 years old.
but it's obviously stuck with you.
Oh,
So
to this day.
right. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about failure. Like I said before, I'm kind of obsessed with it right now because I have had so many failures daily, many obviously that nobody see, but way too many that millions of people have seen. And so we make a choice at that moment, right? Whether we're 12 years old with our grandmother or on national TV. And what do? Do you run away from it? Or do you try to absorb it and say, all right, that really sucked. But like, what's the positive that I can take from it to be a little bit better next time? Is that too cheesy or does that
No,
you know?
it's look, we all have those moments. I remember like my freshman year, we had a really good soccer team. We had a lot of upperclassmen. It was the fourth year that the program was even around. So there was like probably 11 seniors. We had a ton of upperclassmen, and I was playing, and we were playing against I think Midwestern, whoever, like in Wichita Falls, Texas, against they were like top ranked team, and we were unranked, and just trying to put ourselves on the map. And we played these guys so well, made it into overtime. Someone played a ball, went over my head. This guy scored the winning goal against us. And I was a freshman. It was 100% my fault, period. And I was gutted. I mean,
Ugh.
gutted. I had let all these seniors down. You mentioned the frat stuff, my fraternity, but that's a picture of us. How did you get that picture?
I'll never tell.
Seriously, where did you get that freaking picture?
I'll tell you later.
Holy crap.
Look at those bodies.
Okay, so this picture is taken on the beach in Boca Raton, Florida. And I'm trying to even see, I'm in the middle. See, if you look where the soccer ball is, I'm immediately up from the soccer ball. That's my left knee. That was our national.
Hey, that's Joshua.
Oh my God, it does look a little bit like Joshua. So we went to the national championship, the national tournament. It was the first time our school had made it to the national tournament. I think that was my sophomore or junior year. And we made it to the tournament in Boca Raton. I scored the first goal for Oklahoma City University ever in the national tournament. And we were such the rednecks at the party. We didn't have sponsors. We didn't have anything, man. we were definitely the outsiders. It was awesome. It was really just this band of brothers. Just we would take on the world together. We got in fights together. We did it all, man. It was. I still keep in touch with a lot of those guys because we went through it.
So you were a nice frat guy, right? Because I met some doozies at Indiana.
Well, it's funny. We had a lot of like, I was a Kappa Sig, and I was a lot of those soccer players you see were all Kappa Sigs. And so we all kind of went through it together. So we were, when you're part of a sports team, that's also your fraternity. And most of us were also, so it was really just an extension of that. So we were all pretty chill, and there's the Kappa Sig house that, I mean, how that place hasn't burned down, I have no idea. What a dump. I mean, what a dump.
Oh gosh, that is great. I have to tell you, those are some of my fondest memories though, because I didn't rush. I was not in a sorority, but I did enjoy a few.
I mean, look at that.
That's kind of gross, Chris.
That's the outside. You should see and smell the inside.
No, I was gonna say the smell. Oh, that would be a treat. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
But
it was really
survived.
cool though. This year, I was really honored. I was the Kappa Sig Man of the Year, named by the National Fraternity.
I saw that.
It was really cool. So, like, Jerry Jones and Tito from Tito's Vodka, and a long list of amazing professional, successful men have been named this honor, especially from someone for such a small school, such a small chapter. For us to make that mark was it was really a point of pride for me. It was pretty neat.
So cool. So cool. All right, Herbert, our next segment is one that I know he's going to come up with a good answer for me because I'm kind of obsessed with this too.
How did you get that picture?
Dude, stop asking questions. It's too late because there could be more to come.
Yeah.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Go. Oh, I didn't know they're using my workout pictures
Hello.
there. I'm uncomfortable now. Listen, a Peloton bike, they need to pay me because I'm obsessed. I believe Nick Saban, the Alabama head coach, is who I heard say that a couple of years ago. And again, failure, uncomfortable. Do you see a trend here with me? But I truly believe he said that's the key to success, to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable every single day of my life, probably half a dozen times, and I'm learning to be okay with it. Are you still there in any aspect of your life?
I always try to find that. I talk to my kids about that all the time. I don't know if I've ever said to be uncomfortable, but I always write letters to my kids. I'm a big letter writer. And I always leave them notes. And my thing is you should be scared. If you're taking on something, if you're starting a new project, if you're getting a job, if you're going to school, trying out for a team, wherever you are in your life, if you're not a little bit scared, if you don't have the juices flowing, if you're not, feeling those jitters, then you're not jumping far enough. You're not trying hard enough, and you're not reaching high enough. And so I try to tell my kids that, and I feel the same way. I'm always looking for what's next. And it's like, what would scare me a little bit? Whether it was when I wrote a book and I'd never written a book before, or take on, this launching a drink or whatever it is. I try to push myself out of my comfort zone to do something different, even something silly like playing in the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am when I play golf.
That's a big deal.
People are like, I'm so scared. I'm like, yeah, I'm scared to death too. I can barely take the club back. I don't play golf professionally, but isn't that the best feeling when you're walking on the Miss America stage and you are scared to death and you have to do that 30-second teleprompter read and you're walking and you got to hit your mark and you got to do it all. And you could really fail and look like a giant jackass. Yes. But that feeling of being scared to death, it's hard. You can't replace it. I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. But to me, live TV, sports, putting yourself in those situations, that's my drug. I always, I guess it's a Nick Saban thing. He's right. Try to be uncomfortable and force yourself into those moments to see what it feels like when you overcome it. And it's such a good feeling.
I mean, I was nervous for this because it is something new and different, and you want to make it good because we're all perfectionists, especially in this business. And you're my friend and my very dear friend, and you want to make it worth your while. It is, but at the end of the day, every time you push through that fear, even if it doesn't feel great, you survived and you're still alive. And for the record, when we walked onto that Miss America stage for the first time, and I mean, thank God my arm was in your arm, because I literally would have fallen flat on my face, and then it would have been some meme that lasts forever. But if you look at our picture, yay, that is
a great picture.
I mean, if you don't push through it, that's the failure. You know what I mean? And
Well,
I say that to my kids all the time, and I think they're starting to see it because I've been more open. My kids are old enough now. I've been more open with my fears, and when we are open and vulnerable with our fears, I think it helps us. It helps soften the fear a little bit, but then it shows others, especially our children, that like we feel it too. And on the other side, it feels damn good when you can sit there and say, "Okay, I did it. I tried."
well, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not that you're going to succeed every time. It's not that you win or have a perfect show or win the tournament or whatever, make the putt. But it's people often fail because they don't ever give themselves a chance to succeed.
Yeah.
That to me is the failure. When you don't ever give yourself a chance to succeed in the first place, you're done. And being able to step up and take your shot, swing your swing, and go for it. Again, it doesn't mean you're always going to win, doesn't mean you're going to hit that shot, but you know damn good and well if you really got out of your own way and took your shot. And you only know, like I know when I've cut corners, I know when I've played it safe, and I know when I haven't. And I always regret like leaving it on the table. And so yeah, pushing yourself, and it doesn't mean success is not doesn't mean winning. That's not the same thing. It's just getting in your own way and never allowing yourself to succeed. That's the failure.
Sometimes 10 seconds before the red light comes on and we're on national TV, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to say. That's pretty uncomfortable. But now I'm to the point where I trust myself enough to know that something, hopefully semi halfway eloquent, will come out and I'll still have a job at the end of the show. And that's when you know that you've kind of reached another level.
Well,
Is
you got to put in the work.
yeah,
And that's the other thing. It's not just showing up. It's not just hoping. If you watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and all these sports people, but you can go into any business world and the same thing. People don't leave things to chance. You don't show up and hope you succeed. When we walk out on that Miss America stage, you and I have worked our ass off all week. We've gone through rehearsals. We've gone through table reads. We've done our blocking, and all the years leading up to that, I just know that I trust my body, my mind to take over in those moments. And that's why I'm so quiet before shows. You got to trust. I trust that my body will know what to do when I'm faced with a weird situation, because you're always going to have that moment that just you're not expecting, and you got to go with it. And you got to just believe in yourself, whether you're an athlete, a host, whatever you're doing in life. There's always going to be those moments.
do you remember in Nicaragua? And of course, we had the perfect rehearsal. Everything's working fine. And then we go live on ABC. And then I, I, I think that, well, the teleprompter definitely went out during a crucial time, that first segment where you have to
Yep.
nail it, right? And then I think a wind pick up and the cards went flying and we had nothing. And I remember thinking again, why did I say I was going to do this? What the hell am I doing? I want to throw up. And I think I gave you a look, and you picked me up. I had a good teammate.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you have somebody you can trust, and you and I have talked about this a lot. That's why I love working with you. And we were there, and the smoke, the gas blew in our face. The cards went everywhere. The guy was standing, the backup prompter. The guy was standing in front of it, and you and I had to wing it. We had practiced and done everything ready for this one moment, and everything literally did a 180 and went to hell. And we pulled it off, and afterwards we were laughing. But those are the moments where you're like, no one will ever know
No.
except for you and I. And when you walk off that stage, you're like, I crushed that. That moment I just crushed, and no one will ever know it, because if you do it right, they shouldn't notice.
That's the thing. It always feels worse than it is. And then when you talk about it later to the producer, they're like, really? I didn't even notice. I'm like, how the hell did you?
Yeah, exactly.
That means that we did our job. Okay, Herbert, next segment. I want to know Chris's aha moment. Roll it. I know this is difficult, and I didn't give Chris any heads up about what any of these questions would be.
No.
Sorry. But maybe it's not just one, but is there a moment off the top of your head that stands out? A moment, doesn't have to be at work, professionally, maybe personally, that changed you as a man forever.
Oh man. Oh wow. As a man, I was going to say, because professional is fairly easy, because when I was a soccer player and I found sportscasting, thanks to some amazing people. This guy Chris Weish, my coach, that was in that one beach picture, Brian Harvey, who's a legend and just retired after I think some 30 or 40 years.
Wow.
Um, and I was getting going in the business. And I started as a sportscaster calling the basketball games at Oklahoma City University. That was my first job.
Oh, wow.
And I was doing play by play for the basketball team. And I immediately fell in love. That was that moment where I thought, oh my God, I now know what I want to do with my life. I no longer want to play soccer as much because all before that, I just wanted to play soccer and meet girls. And as soon as
Wait,
I
in which
started,
order is that?
it depended on the day, really. But I truly loved the game of soccer, and it defined me for so long. And when you're in college and you're playing, it's fine. But then I found sportscasting and I found television, and I hosted. I was doing play-by-play for the basketball team on Cox Cable, this small, deep cable
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
But man, I didn't care. I was so happy. I knew for a fact this is what I was going to do the rest of my life. And there, a million people told me I was in Oklahoma for God's sakes, and I was from Texas. So people are like, what do you, people don't go do TV. You're not going to be on TV. That's not even a thing. And I just knew in my heart, this is what I was meant to do. It's what I'm going to do. And you could have, hit me in the head with a 2x4 and it wasn't going to stop me from doing this. And probably the best advice my mentor, Bill Tegan, gave me was to quit. He said, get out of this business. It sucks. You're going to work holidays. You're going to work all night. You're going to work on weekends. You're never going to be around. But that's how I knew, because he probably was trying to scare me off and there was no way you couldn't get me away.
That's fascinating. The best advice you got was to quit.
Yeah. And because, by the way, if I was unsure, if I didn't feel like I wanted to do this, if it wasn't my passion, I probably would have quit. I would have thought, I want to be home on the holidays. I don't want to miss New Year's. I want to go to all my friends' weddings. I don't want to work weekends. I didn't go to any of their weddings. I worked all the holidays, and yeah, I missed some of that stuff as I think back, but man, I loved every second of what I was doing, and I still love it.
What did Bill say to you later, years later?
He always just called me a punk ass kid, and he knew it was just something. It was, I guess I understand it now because you see greatness in people, or you see something that spark that thing. And he always saw that. And I saw myself in his eyes. And I have a wonderful father who I love dearly, but he was a bit of a father figure as well. And when I saw the way he looked at me, and he would stay after and watch tapes with me and break my stuff down. And when I saw the way he appreciated what I was doing and the skills I had, and he told me, you're not going to be here long. You're not going to stay in Oklahoma City. You're going to go off and do amazing things elsewhere. And I believed it. I drank the Kool-Aid, and I thought, if he sees it, then yeah, why not me?
Unbelievable. And I think we all hopefully have a person like that in our lives and our careers who
Look,
not only looks out for us, but pushes us.
we're all quote unquote self-made people, right? In our business, we're hosts. I'm my own entity. I'm work for myself. I go host Miss America. I do the tightrope. I do the Bachelor. I am a private entity, and I just go host shows and create television. But I always tell people, nobody gets anywhere alone. Whether you know it or not, whether you pay attention or not, there's always people there wanting to help you. And if you're really fighting for something and striving, if you look around, there's other people that really love that and respect your effort and will give you a leg up. Nobody, I don't care who it is, made it on their own. Zuckerberg and anybody, I don't care.
Yep.
People had other people that inspired them, drove them, pushed them. Sometimes it's a villain. Sometimes it was,
Oh, yeah.
that person who you wanted to beat, whatever it was, somebody that pushed you to be better and be who you are. And I had plenty of those people. Bill was one, Chris Weish, my soccer coach, my parents, my grandparents, my brother. There's so many people in my life that I owe all of this to. It would be so ridiculous for me to say I'm a self-made man.
On that note, let's do a little rapid fire to wrap up. Final segment is called Ready or Not. Herbert, go. I love these, but I could probably go on for like 10 minutes with them. And the key is not for you, for me to shut up after you answer them, because I know I'm gonna have a question after each one, but it's supposed to go fast. You know what these are. Ready? Rapid fire with Chris Harrison. I think I know some of these answers. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea. You know that.
I know that. Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Okay. I can see that. Football or soccer?
Oh man. I mean, soccer is such a big part of why I am who I am and where I am. I have to say the beautiful game of football. not American football.
Well, okay, I was gonna say you could get away with saying football and cover
Yeah.
your bases on the
No,
Cowboys and
soccer. I still love the game. I still watch the EPL. I still watch Barcelona. I still, when I'm traveling around the world, I try to watch games. But I will say this: I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan through and through, and I'm as loyal as you get.
do you know that I became a Dallas Cowboys fan a few years ago, and I cannot believe I'm admitting this publicly because of Jason Garrett. And I'm sad that he's gone, and I wish
Me
him all the
too.
luck. And I know it's difficult that he's still in the same division as you, but I love what he stood for, what he stands for, and I do love the Cowboys. I cannot believe I'm saying that. Okay, so the beautiful game of soccer or golf.
Now golf. I mean, golf's my life. I played today. I'll play as many times as I can. I love the game. I love what it does for you. I love what it does to you, mentally and emotionally. It just can break you down, and how you can be as good as Tiger Woods one moment and then be the worst person in the world the next. It's fascinating to me. And the fact that you can play the courses they play. You can go play Harding Park. You can go play, Pebble Beach, and I can't go play at Yankee Stadium. So I love the game of golf for a lot of reasons. It exposes who you are very quickly.
Oh, very quickly, but like this is a great picture of you, by the way. Don't you have like sponsors, or are you just always getting free shit from everybody?
Well, I do. Callaway, Team Callaway has been amazing to me, and I play all their gear, and it actually is fantastic. And Travis Matthew is the
Yeah.
close, but Callaway kind of owns Travis Matthew now, so it's all one big family. And it just so happened that actually, luckily, I love the Travis Matthew brand. It happens to look great on me. I'll be a little modest here. And so Callaway, Travis Matthew, and I've met some incredible people in this world thanks to golf.
I know that is absolutely your obsession. By the way, one of my dreams, I don't know if this is ever going to happen, is to play the Tahoe celebrity thing, the Accenture.
I was supposed to play this year. I was honored enough to get an invite, but because of the quarantine and the pandemic, we obviously pushed production into July,
Oh yeah,
and I
yeah.
had to bail and I had to pull out. And I was really proud of the fact that they still did the event and played. I'm not good enough to win those things like Marty Fish, those guys, Tony Romo that win. Those
Yeah.
guys are sticks, man.
Mark
They don't
Mulder,
have
like it's
Marty the party. He doesn't have a job. He's just playing golf, man.
that's all they exactly. It's so wrong. But I'm like, they don't have enough women in there doing it. But again, it would expose me completely because to me, you walk up to the tee and I would be done. So I need some work, a lot of work before I can do that. Okay, here we go. This is where it gets juicy. Blonde or brunette?
Would have said blonde years ago, but now brunette.
Thank you. Very good answer considering present company.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I mean, this is kind of, sappy stuff considering one of your main jobs. Eyes or smile?
I'm a big eyes person. I'm a big eye contact and seeing somebody and having that knowing look across the room. I'm all about what's in the eyes.
Boobs or ass?
Um, Definitely, if I had to choose one, I would say the butt. I'm
Come
not a
on,
big
say ass with me.
ass. I'm not a big boob guy. I don't really care. I don't really care. I'll say ass.
Okay. Okay, good work. How about your favorite, and I don't even know how many locations there've been, your favorite bachelor or bachelorette location that you guys went to?
Man, I mean, I always tell people it's like picking a child. It's like, tell me, do you like beach or city? I'm a big European person. I love going to Europe. What I've truly loved is, bringing it back to sports, the golf I've played around the world and the sporting events I've been to around the world. I'm a big soccer fan, as we just talked about. So, we were in Barcelona, went to a Champions League game, and I was in, Munich, and I saw Bayern Munich play a Champions League game.
Ah,
We happened to be in Cape Town. South Africa was playing the United States in a friendly in Cape Town, and then playing golf around the world in Vietnam and Thailand, all that. So being a part of that, I love being a part of the community, being in Ireland and, going there and playing golf and then going to the pub and meeting people. That's part of what I love about this show is I truly try to get out and explore. And like you said, make yourself uncomfortable and go meet people. And around the world, I can also be, you know, who I am. No one knows The Bachelor that much. And so you can kind of disappear.
that's true. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, but what a gift that you've earned to be able to literally see the world and to bring your kids along with it. That right there. I mean, school, academics, it's important, but that
Yeah.
culture, that's a true education for Josh and Taylor. Okay. If you weren't Wikipedia called you a television host. If you weren't a TV host, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be in real estate. My mom's an
That's what
amazing.
I'm doing. Okay, we could crush that together. That's
Well,
literally my dream.
my mom is one of the most incredible real estate agents in Dallas. She's been in Dallas for
Really?
4 decades, I think now. So she's
What's her
unbelievable.
name? Give her some love.
Mary Beth Harrison, for all your home buying needs in Dallas, Texas, and the surrounding area, call Mary Beth Harrison. And she truly is remarkable and an amazing woman on so many levels. But she got into real estate many years ago. And I thought, if this TV thing never works out, I'd probably just go join her in Dallas and kind of make it a family business. And so luckily, I have not had to take that leap yet.
Yet. Yeah. Give a little bit more time. All right. Is there someone that you wish you could meet? You hear the question, who would you love to have dinner with if you had one person, one night?
So here's the thing. If I was going to, I'm going to show you one other thing that's going to tie into this. If I have an obsession in my life, as you know, it's U2.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is my birthday present from Lauren Zima.
Really?
The beautiful Lauren Zima got me. So there was a concert I went to when I was 15, 16 years old. It actually was the day before I turned 16. It was 1987. I was playing soccer over in Europe, and I happened to be in Cardiff, Wales, and I stumbled upon U2 in the Joshua Tree tour. She got me these promo photos from that concert that day from back in 1987. She had them framed. That was my birthday present this year. So,
wow.
Long story short, and I've had so many close calls with him. I mean, I've been shoulder to shoulder with him, but we've never actually had a conversation. I would love to sit down with Bono.
Would you be nervous?
Yeah, I would be a total dork. I would be like, I don't even know what I don't even know what I want to say to him. I just want to shoot the shit. But I've met sports heroes, people like that. Most of them, like love and respect Tiger Woods and quarterbacks, did all through the years. I've met so many people, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, all those people I've met. I'm not saying we're friends, but I've met them, but I've never met Bono. I've never even said, hey man, Chris Harrison, damn glad to meet you. And I have these crazy stories that's going to end up in a book one day, 1 Degree from Bono, because I've had some crazy stories about how we have been so close to meeting. People have tried to make this happen, have come so close, and it just never does. And now that I think that's kind of the beauty of it. The last person I was truly nervous to meet, who was wonderful, was Jack Nicklaus. My amazing assistant, who Karen.
Love Karen.
Pulled some strings. I happened to be working on The Bachelor in Florida, and she set it up to where I could go play golf at the Bears Club, and that was enough. I didn't realize the bear was there, and Jack came out. I played with his son Gary and one of his grandsons, but then Jack came out and played the last 3 holes with us, and we got done. And he said, "Hey, you want to grab lunch?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And I went and had lunch with Jack, and we just talked sports, politics. He is an unbelievable man, an incredible gentleman. And I had the time of my life. But I was so nervous. And that's one of the last times I was fully aware of who I was with the whole time. I was so grateful and nervous and giddy and just happy to be there.
It's like you're trying to absorb everything that he's saying and not forget it while trying to maybe form your next question because you don't want to sound like a jackass. I mean, I hope that you were able to, have that mental recorder going because that's something that nobody gets to do with somebody like that for sure. A person, you know what? You mentioned Mimi, your grandmother. You mentioned your mentor, Bill. Anyone else that is maybe no one has ever heard about before that has helped you get to where you are today as not just a broadcaster, as a person?
I don't ever talk about my brother, who I was just with yesterday, who has always been, will be my best friend. He's a big brother. He's 2.5 years older than me. And so, yeah, we beat the holy hell out of each other growing up. But he's an amazing man. He was a sailboat captain. He was on the sailing team at Texas A&M. He's a big outdoorsman. He and his boys, they hunt and fish probably 300 days a year. But he's an amazing writer, poet, incredibly well-read, brilliant, and always to this day gives me great advice, not necessarily obviously on what I do for a living, but just who I am as a man, as a father, as a person. And so I always look up to him to this day. And I never really talk about my brother, where our relationship's always been very private. But he's an incredible man who I always admire and look up to.
And what's his name? First name?
Glenn.
Glenn. You got to give some
Glenn.
love to Glenn. Does he work with your mom as a home inspector in Dallas?
He would, yeah. When he was in Dallas, they would work closely together, and that's also my son's namesake. So Joshua Glenn is his name, and named after my brother.
Big brother.
Yep, my big brother.
Finally, Chris. You know, I hear this question a lot, but I think from you, your answer will be extra meaningful because I know the depth of the person that you are. When it's all said and done, and when you're on that ranch in Texas doing whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, what do you want people to say about you? What's your legacy?
What I hope is that my kids look at me and say he was present when he was around, and I do travel a lot, and I have guilt problems with that from time to time, but I want them to say when he was there, he was present, he was in our lives, and he was a good dad. And just people say he was a good man and he was lovely, and he tried to spread love. He tried to spread positivity. He was an optimistic guy that really appreciated and took time to talk to me and really seemed to look at me and find who I was. That's it. It's simple. And then I will ride off in the sunset and never be heard from again. And I am totally fine with that.
You know, people already say that, right?
I hope so. I hope so. And you know, and I try to surround myself with people. I'm a big believer in collecting people. And you are one of those people I have collected in my life who are, you know, my grandmother, to go back to Mimi, gave me great advice. She was getting older. We had her living, she still lived alone till the day she died. She lived alone. And I said, you know, Mimi, there are places that we can send you and you could go and you could be around people, whatever you want. You know, luckily I am fortunate enough that I can do this for you. What do you want? I will do anything for you. She said, Chris, I don't want to just be around people. If you can't be around people that are equal to you or better, they're not worth your time. And I have taken that to heart. And the people I collect in my life are either equal or better than I am as humans. And if they don't bring that to the table, do not waste your time. They're not worth it. And so that is something I live with and I take with me everywhere I go. And you are one of those people that are easily equal or better than I am. And that's why I have collected you. That's why I love you. That's why you are one of my dear friends. And off air and out of the broadcast world, I consult you on a lot of personal matters and vice versa, where you and I have been there for each other. We've cried, we've laughed, we've done it all. And there's a reason for that. It's because you are an amazing person. And whether people see that on SportsCenter or not, you are an incredible woman on so many levels. I love your family. I love your kids. I really love your dad. You know that. But you especially, I absolutely adore. And there's a reason I have collected you in my life. And having you as a friend is one of the greatest treasures in my life. It truly is.
You're not supposed to I almost got away with an entire show without crying. And I still have my TV makeup on from earlier today. Thank you for your kind words, because you know that they mean a lot to me. We have done a lot of crying together, and that means that you trust somebody. That's everything. And I do think it's rare in this business, and rare, unfortunately, more and more today. So right back at you. Okay, 2 box here, guys, because I just need to say thank you to my guy for your patience with me and for trusting me with this and for making that, like, we might as well just be one and done with Be Real with Sage Steele, because no one's ever going to top this again or be this patient with me. But I cannot thank you enough. And now it's on you, because you're Chris Harrison. It's on you to find another like volcano or big stage for us to go work on together, because I need it. I need to work more with you.
We will. And look, I won't ever tell the story of what we were talking about or what was happening during this time in our lives. But I knew as soon as you and I made it from the drive from Connecticut to Atlantic City to host Miss America for the first time together, once you and I survived that space and time, I knew we were going to be great friends. I knew we would always be dear friends. And hosting TV with you is one of the great pleasures in this business. And we will do it again. Trust me. And now, I will say congratulations.
Thank you.
And I will say congratulations on your first show. And I think it's time for us to take a moment and say our goodbyes.
Okay, that was so good. What I need from you, you know what? Bring it. I will be the oldest bachelorette on history. It's time. In history, it's time. that car ride to Atlantic City from Connecticut, unforgettable. And FYI, and I hopefully Lauren's okay with this too. You are stuck with me for life. I I love you, Chris Harrison. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then send me critiques because I need to keep making this better.
I will. Love you too, and I'll talk to you soon.
Love you. Bye.
I mean, that was a very genuine, long, awesome interview.
So good. So good. And I just, you guys, I can't thank you enough. I don't know. I'm like overwhelmed for a lot of reasons. So thank you.
That was awesome, Sage.
Damn it. Gave me like his everything, you know? He gave me
Totally.
He gave me so much depth and I learned so much about him, you know?